And we will be live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I believe we are live with the great and glorious Jay Griggs. I am very happy to have you on today, sir. We talked about this a while ago, and we're able to make it happen tonight. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm doing great.
Good. What were you gonna say? Were you gonna say something?
No, I was actually trying to mute some background volume.
You're good. You're good. So
feedback.
We always start with, for those that don't know you, I don't know why someone would not know you, but in 50 to 100 words or however many words you want to use, who are you? What are you? What do you do?
I am Jay Griggs, the pastor of New Life Baptist Church in Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Good luck spelling that. We had started our church almost 8 years ago. I have 7 children, been married. We just celebrated 19 years. My wife still loves me. And my children, they haven't completely taken over yet. And I'm not very social. I'm just kidding. I think the term was used by a friend of mine who said I'm socially awkward, and I would agree with him wholeheartedly. But anyway,
you have like a different. I don't know if I would use that term though.
It's the poker face. The poker face.
Okay. Is that normally your first, like your default when you're meeting new people? You just the poker face, or what?
I don't know. Since I've been a pastor, I've really had to work on it. Especially
you've had to stop playing poker since you became a pastor.
Right. I've had to stop. I switched over to blackjack.
Okay.
And my odds are a lot better. The odds are more in my favor per se, playing blackjack than poker. And but anyway, since I've been a pastor, I've had to learn to smile more and be more friendly and more approachable.
Right.
Here in southern Louisiana, we're in the South where people tend to be more friendly. So I just have to kind of try to work on that on a regular basis. But the poker face is very beneficial in many ways.
Sure.
For example, if there's ever anybody interested in my daughter, they're scared to death of me.
Right.
I can say something to somebody in a not serious way, and they take me very seriously. I give my youth pastor, Brother Nick, a hard time about things all the time, and I call him into the office. I say, I need to talk to you about something. I just stare at him, and you would figure that sometimes he thinks he's going to get fired for something, and I go, I just want to let you know you're doing a great job. Thank you. And he's like, oh, I thought I did something wrong. You look so serious. But
he hasn't figured out yet to just treat you as if you're not serious all the time.
Right. So it works with my kids. But anyway, it's fun. I learned it that I had it later on in life. I just thought that everybody looked as angry as I did all the time. So, but
nope, just anyway, you and Pastor Grimaldi.
Just me.
Only two.
Just me. Yeah, I know. I think that's why we get along so well.
Probably so.
But I have a few children that kind of inherited the scowl or the poker face, and during our free time, we sit across each other from a table and have staring contests, and whoever flinches first loses.
There you go.
But anyway, I've had to work on it quite a bit being a pastor. I've realized that first impressions are everything. If you're staring someone down like you want to beat them down, especially if it's a first-time visitor, it doesn't work out so well in your favor. But
sure.
Anyway.
All right. So my next question.
That's whenever I call my wife over and say, honey, come and meet our visitors. And she, as mean as I look, she is the opposite friendly. Matter of fact, it's an ongoing joke. When I go into the store, nobody talks to me. Nobody bothers me. When she goes into the store, she insists that she has a note, a Post-it note either on her forehead or on her shirt that says "Talk to me," because every stranger in the world talks to her, but they never talk to me, probably because I look like I want to murder somebody or something. But either way.
Sure.
Anyway, what's your next question?
My next question is, how many piles of tracks do you have over there beside you?
Oh, this is just one. If you saw, I was actually just I was working on my blackjack.
I was actually wondering. There's a little big for what we're doing. That's
so
probably.
I was. Yeah. Anyway, but I just happen to have them here on my desk, and so
just go down to New Orleans, keep the church afloat, playing some cards, hitting the casinos.
That is the way to do it. I think in our city or in either our city or our sister city, they were trying to vote on putting a casino in, and they do have a lot of casinos down here in Louisiana. But I think that bill got shot down. I was very disappointed. I want I want to encourage our people to find ways to earn extra cash to up the offerings. What can I say?
Amen. Amen.
I don't, folks, if you're watching this, I don't mean that in any way. I wouldn't encourage it in any way. It's just all fun and games.
So we have, we get into your backstory a little bit. I did want to talk a little bit of football camp before I forget. How many years have you been coming to football camp?
I have, according to the records, I think, or I saw the football camp ad in Revival Fires. According to that, it says that I have gone 13 years, but it has been a span over the last 16 years.
Okay.
So I started on the bottom of the totem pole. I think the first year I was there, I remember Brother Booth said, I told him, I said, I'd like to go to football camp and help out. And I'll never forget the first time I talked to Miss Jane, the first year I was there. They said, you're going to be the dean of men. And I'm in college, and I'm young. It was 2003. So I think at that time I was 24 years old. And I said, man, I get to be a dean of men. I have a title, man. That's awesome. It's great. Yeah. Little did I know what it entailed, but it was just basically the dean or the dad of the boys, and making sure everybody went to bed and made sure that everybody woke up. And I didn't know this, but the first year I was there, football camp had a lot of rain, and during that time frame, I don't know the condition of the building or the property then. The basement would flood through some cracks that they had in the wall. And I remember it was the second night of football camp. I remember the water was coming through the crack in the wall, and I had a shot vac, and I was leaning against the wall, and it was 2, 3, 4, I can't remember. It was just at some ungodly time in the morning. I just remember holding the shot vac there and falling asleep and waking up when the shot vac was full of water. That let me know I had to go empty it. And I did that all night long. When it was full, then I'm like, oh, okay, it's time to wake up, empty it, go empty it. All right, put it back over. And it was probably a span of like 10-minute intervals. But that was my first year.
That's first
year to football camp. The second year, of course they had me refereeing the first year and the second year as well, and helping out with laundry and just doing all sorts of things. But the second year, I'll never forget. I think it was the last year that they did a water balloon fight. And I don't know how many thousands upon thousands of water balloons that we were there. And there was the two Pritchetts. There was another person there, Justin Leisure. And then there was somebody else there. And I was the only guy there that I felt like, hey, I'm a little bit older and I'm married, and there's these 2, 3 young guys, and it's 4:00 in the morning. We still got 1,000 balloons to go. And I said, you know what, guys, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. They're like, no. You can't do that. I said, listen, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. And if I can't ever go to football camp because I can't finish these water balloons, then so be it. So I went to bed and I fell asleep. And of course, I think it was like 4:30. Then I woke up at 6:30, or 6 o'clock. It was 6 o'clock at that time. They just started the morning sessions at that time. But anyway, it was a blessing. So then I migrated up a little bit and got to coach. And I'll never forget the first year. I didn't win one single game the whole time. It was just like, what am I doing wrong? And this is back in the day when the Agape Boys Home came, and so there was quite a bit of depth talent-wise. I coached what they called the headbuster age group, but it wasn't really headbusters. I would say it was equivalent to what we typically experience in like JV now.
Sure.
Because there were so many boys. And I mean, just on my headbuster team, I think I had 20-something boys on headbusters. So every team had 20-something players. Even Brother Grimaldi probably remembers those days. I think he told me he would just get like 18 and just shut it off because that was too many players.
Right.
To have. And, yeah, we've been through a lot, seen a lot in the last 16 years, learned a lot. There's been times where I didn't necessarily like to be there, but I'm glad I was there. I didn't like to be there based on, I wasn't feeling well. I'd rather be home. Sometimes I was the back end of a bad joke, So, but the truth is that I was thinking about this, and I told this to my wife just a handful of months ago, and I said, as much as I thought that I was a grown up, I pretty much grew up my whole life without a dad in my life, and so I was thinking about all the.
Did I lose you there? Froze up for just a second here. We'll give it a second to catch back up with them. You there, Brother Griggs? Those of you that are watching, I appreciate it. Take a moment here while it's paused. You get a really good look at his glorious beard. I was going to tell him he needs to tip that phone back just a little bit there. But this is Micah McCurry Live number 31 with Jay Griggs. If you're joining us, I appreciate you guys that are watching right now. And if you get a second, hit the share button, and we'll get through this patch here in just a second here. What we're talking about, and since it looks like I'm the guy talking right now, let's see, there we go. Since I'm the one talking, my name is Micah McCurry, and I have the privilege of hosting this podcast with today, Jay Griggs. You back?
Yes, I know what's going on. It says my battery is overheating, which is crazy.
Huh. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make sure I'm going to get us back on track here with the split screen. Give me 1 second. You can go ahead and start talking. I'll get us added in here. Go ahead.
So I was thinking I didn't grow up without a dad, and Brother Gomez preached a great message last year on validation of manhood.
Sure.
And I struggled with that. I graduated high school later. I started college when I was 20 years old. I was a freshman after.
Hey, Jay, let me interrupt you for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tilt your phone back just a little bit? We're getting a really good shot of your glorious beard, but not much of your face.
Yeah.
And your wife just commented, yes, please, baby, adjust that angle. So since wife said something, we'll make sure.
I don't even, anyway.
So backtrack for just saying you're talking about Pastor Gomez and then beyond that?
Yeah. Brother Gomez preached a great message on the validation of manhood. And as I listened to that, I thought about my own life growing up primarily without a dad. And the time frame that I guess you could say validating my manhood would have been during the early years of being married. So, of course you make mistakes and, different things like that. So anyway, going back to football camp, people like Brother Woodward and Brother Booth saw some things in me that I didn't see in myself. And so they used opportunity
Did I lose you again? Hopefully not.
Oftentimes, I would think that, hey, it was and because of that, because of some different things that I've been through, and even people wanting me to grow, become a better man, So anyway, long story short, because of the pressure sometimes that even Brother Woodward put me under, or put me through different circumstances and situations, I didn't necessarily care for it at the time, but looking back on it now, I mean, I realize that he saw some things in me that I didn't see in myself. I needed to mature and grow, and it's helped me to become the person that I am today.
Sure.
But anyway, I had a dad, my biological dad, my real dad. I had him the last couple of years of being a teenager before I left home and went to Bible college. But growing up primarily was with my mom and stepfather, and my stepdad, he wasn't, I would say that he was a hard working person, but he wasn't a good man by any means. Not saved. I didn't grow up in a saved home or anything of that sort of thing. And I wasn't saved until I was an older teenager. But, and that was whenever I went to go live with my father. I was 17 years old and, went to a good church, and heard the gospel and went to church for 6 months and realized that I needed to be saved, and got.
Did I lose you? Having just a little bit of technical difficulties. I appreciate those that are listening through it. We're on with Pastor Jay Griggs talking about getting into his past just a little bit and how the Lord saved him. This is number 31. Kind of just jumping in here. I guess I just have to float with the punches. I heard a good saying, a long time ago: preach, pray, sing, or die at a moment's notice. Or I guess be a one-man show for just a moment here. You might have to jump off and jump back in here. Let me flip over here so you don't just have to see him frozen there. My name, again, is Micah McCurry, and I appreciate you guys sticking around for just a second. And if you would, even though it is frozen and having a few issues, if you wouldn't mind throwing up a like there, maybe a comment or something like that. If you have a question for Pastor Griggs, I would appreciate that and would love to ask him that. And we have football camp coming up. If you don't know what we were talking about, maybe some of my friends that may not be aware, Midwest Christian Boys Football Camp is heading into its 26th year. Excited about that and looking forward to it. And we are doing some cool stuff this year. Going to be live streaming, planning on, and pray with us about this, planning on live streaming all 32 football games this year. And that's going to be a massive undertaking, have a big crew of guys, and appreciate those guys already putting in some effort, learning some different things about all of that. And so we'll have a good time with that. That will be August 4th. Well, it's a Sunday, but 5th through 9th, August 5th through 9th, have maybe 16, or maybe close to 20 preaching services during that entire week. So if you'd be in prayer about all the young men that will be there, praying for 250, maybe close to 300 young men if the Lord allows. And if you have any young men that would be interested, please feel free to visit our website, nofearfootball.org. That would be fantastic. I'm sure many of you have busy summers coming up, or you're already in your busy summer. So we would love for you to be a part. I think he's jumping back on here. Let's see if we have him back. Brother Griggs, we got you there?
Yes.
It's all good.
The devil's in the details of the
there we go.
issues that I'm having, but
it's all good. What we can do is, if it happens again or some, maybe we'll cut this one short, and maybe we'll have to pick it back up at football camp. Maybe we'll
that'd be good.
Yeah, we can talk about how you've spanked my team like the last 2 or 3 years here. It's
been 3 years, actually. 3
years. I said 2 or 3. It might have been one or the other. Trying to soften the blow just a little bit, but yeah, that I don't want to talk too much about that. But
I actually do, because, the first year I actually do, because the first year I had a strategy and it worked really good. We had us coaches had a list of boys we did not want to pick, for one reason or another. And everybody we picked, we didn't see play in the scrimmages or warm-ups or drills or anything. We just picked the oldest kids that were available for our age group. So while all the other teams had even, great, I thought some of the players, they had great athletes, we just picked older kids. And I knew right off the bat, if you, in that age group, if you have older kids, that will compensate a lot of times the testosterone. The strength, the aggressiveness will compensate for their lack of athleticism. Oftentimes, it's not that way every time, but a majority of the time it will, and for that particular age group. So I did that the first year. My average player was 17, 16 years old in that no fear league. Okay.
Which, for those of you that watching at home have no idea, that is really old for no fear.
Right. So I think people started to pick up on that the next year. And so that's what happened. So my age group the next year, it was diverse. I had one or maybe two 17-year-olds, and then a few 16-year-olds and a few 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds. Okay. So it was pretty equally dispersed. And we still did well. So last year, we hadn't lost, in 2 years, a game in 2 years. And then last year, we noticed that there are no older kids. I had one kid that was 15 years old, and that was the oldest kid I had.
Well, part of that was not just, and I would bet, I may be wrong, I can speak for my team, but I don't think many people mimicked you. I think over half of the kids there were in, I might have lost you again, but I'll explain this since I was talking. But over half of the camp was 13 and under, which is a really good thing, because that means for the life of the camp, they can come from 10 to 19. And so, anyway, I think we lost him again. So we might need to shelf this interview. We've been on for, let's see, how many minutes now? 22 minutes or so. This might go on record as one of the shortest ones we've done so far. We'll see. But those of you that have stuck with us, I greatly appreciate it. We might have to do 31B, episode 31B, if the internet won't cooperate with us. But this podcast is not underwritten by anybody. I'll just make that note here. And so if you'd like to, feel free to let me know. I'd appreciate that. But in all seriousness, if you are a part of football camp, if you know some people that might be interested in watching the games, we are trying to raise a little bit of money for our media crew. We have bottles very similar to this right here. And this one has my logo on it. Let's see if you can see that right there, that we're giving away with a Man Camp logo on it. And I think I have one upstairs actually, and you can get those. And so I'd love for you to help us out at the Midwest Christian Boys Football Camp Facebook page. I was just telling the folks, and maybe if it cuts out again, maybe we'll have to shelve it and do episode 31B at football camp. But the over half of the camp was ages 13 and under this last year. So so all that to say, the chances of you getting somebody, I mean, obviously, if you just broke it up, Headbusters and No Fear would only be 13 and under if you just broke it up by ages. So the chances of you getting a 17-year-old when there's only, I don't know, 6, 15, 6 of them, 10, 12, when there's not many of them isn't very high. So anyway, that might explain some of it.
So this group that we got when we drafted them, we just looked for a few fast guys and someone with some people with some decent size.
Sure.
Just to play the line. And, everybody looks different when they're in pads.
Right.
So we draft them, and then that Monday night when we do the first team meeting, I said, we are going to get slaughtered. We're going to get slaughtered this year. It's just, there was one young person who had really thick glasses. I almost wanted to call him like bottles or something because his glasses were so thick. But he was incredibly fast, had good field vision and different things like that. It ended up, so our coaches determined that this was the year for the overachievers, overachievers. They were the overachievers. And
sure.
Is there still video coming in?
Yeah, it's a little jumpy, but it's still working.
Okay, because my screen is completely black. It's really odd.
Yeah, sure, it's all right.
So anyway, to our surprise, we went a third year and won it. But, I would say, like the beginning of the time where you first start coaching at football camp, you're like, oh, I want to win. And
sure.
And different things that are involved with that. Did I lose you?
No, your screen flipped for some reason. I still have the audio, though. It's fine.
Okay. So, yeah, my screen is black. It's really odd. But once you win, it's really not about, you're like, oh, okay, all right, so you win. What kind of, it's kind of hard to Chrome.
Did I lose you again? I think I did. Well, those of you that have allowed us to muddle through, I appreciate you sticking around. It's been a blessing. Well, what we'll do is we'll get back on long enough to just sign off, and we'll pick this back up in the near future when we can get the internets to work properly. And appreciate you listening. I've been uploading some of the podcasts in audio form on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Play, you name it. And so hopefully you are able to access those. Hopefully they work a little better than this interview has gone tonight. And so anyway, we'll get him back on just long enough to say goodbye, and then we'll go from there. Appreciate you listening in and meeting Pastor Jay Griggs. Let's see, do we have your back? We should probably sign off if that's all right. And
yeah, that's great. That's great.
We'll pick it back up. It's all good though. It's fine.
Let me finish the thought anyway regarding that.
Go ahead.
If you win or if you lose, in the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If you win every game at football camp, if you lose every game, if you win the championship game, what I was leading to, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well you do as far as the overall record. It really boils down to what kind of influence were you able to make in just a short amount of time that you had with the boys, and what kind of decisions did they make?
Absolutely.
How long will those decisions last?
Amen.
And that's the most important thing about football camp, is not about the football. I don't even like to call it football camp any longer. I like to stick with the man camp.
Sure.
Because it deals with these boys becoming men, which is, sad to say, lacking in today's society.
Absolutely. You're correct.
So,
yes, sir.
Anyway.
And that's the important thing, and that's why I firmly believe out of every camp or conference or anything I've ever been to, I see more good decisions made and kept at man camp than I do anywhere else. You name the youth conference, whatever the case may be. And I don't have anything against any other youth conference. I go to some and enjoy teen camp and all that type of stuff, and junior camp and all that. But more amazing decisions, and it's also been around long enough for us to see the product. But at the same time, man, the amount of just solid decisions, and the fact that they get specific, and people can administrate things however they want, but when you have, I don't know what the number, pull a number off the top of my head, but 17 boys give up pornography by name last year,
right?
Whatever the number was, it was more than 2 or 3, and you don't see that at camps, and yes, that's partly because mixed gender and all that stuff, but at football camp, we can talk to the men, the leaders, the supposed leaders, they're supposed to be leaders. And so that's super important. But I appreciate the time, man. We will have to meet up and maybe we'll do it over over dinner sometime, or how early are you getting to football camp this year?
I will be there arriving, Lord willing, early Monday morning. Last year I got there about 2:30 and got my room, and Spencer Smith was in there, and he was snoring like a bear. He does snore incredibly loud, and that's the reason why no one else wants to stay with him. I just want to throw that out there. He has really bad hygiene too, so personal hygiene.
I don't know. We might have to have a rebuttal. He was my second episode ever, and so he might have to come back at you. We'll have to. Maybe we'll do a group thing over some Mexican food.
You don't want it. Oh, you don't want to get Spencer and I together. That's bad, because he always brings out the worst in me. When I'm around him, for some reason, the old pre-saved Jay Griggs wants to kind of take over and dominate everything, and he's just really bad.
Well, hey, I have this thing.
But we have a great time.
One called Micah McCurry Eats, and where I go out to eat with somebody. I've only done one so far, but I think that might be a good one. You, me, and Spencer Smith. I think we'd have a good time.
Oh, yeah, just make sure our wives aren't present.
Sure. Well, the problem is they can listen afterwards. So it'll be all right. Well, hey, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it cut you out and stuff. But.
It's not a problem at all. Not a problem. And I mean, I want to talk football camp, but we get more into your backstory next time. But this has been, you stick around for just saying it, Jay, but this has been Micah McCurry Live number 31. And I think the first question is going to be next time. Don't answer now, but we'll leave people waiting with bated breath. Why Jay or Jason? Which one is it? But don't answer. We'll answer that next time with episode 31B, the second half. And so this has been Micah McCurry Live number 31 with Jay Griggs. Appreciate you folks listening, liking, sharing, commenting, all that stuff. We'll come at you soon with another episode.